want to keep my comments brief so that there's, an opportunity for discussion about some schools. Some of you know me because I was in the Systems of Care planning group, and I actually very much enjoyed getting to know the community better through that. I'm here representing Safe Schools now. I am part of the evaluation team. There are others. The lead of this evaluation wanted to be here tonight, but she was sick. So hopefully she'll be able to come to some other meetings. So I don't want to give, an overview of the whole evaluation because I think that would take all of the time. So what I'd like to do is just focus on some things that we've learned from the evaluation that I think would be useful for you to know. One of the purposes of the evaluation is to inform the core management team and CPS so that they can tighten things up, make better connections, make mid-course corrections, problem solve, that kind of thing. And so my comments really speak to that part of the evaluation. We're also collecting a variety of quantitative data. And at this point, the quantitative data isn't telling us much because we haven't collected enough of it. We need to get further into it. I think the data is telling us what you already know, which are there issues with fighting and bullying and violence in schools. Our first year, so we're now in the third year. The first year evaluation effort really focused on the core management team. Now the core management team is made up of representatives from various agencies, including the Chicago Police Department, Illinois Department of Mental Health, Cook County Juvenile Court. And these agencies are brought together because it's understood that violence is really a community issue. And these agencies help provide services to address these issues. And so if you're going to deal with violence, even if it's mostly school-based, you really need to address sort of these larger system issues. And so this is a group of people that's supposed to sort of help guide this project. What we did in the first year evaluation is we interviewed the core management team members to understand from them how was this all working. And one thing that they told us was that they really see their role as providing and mobilizing resources from the agencies that they work with. They see their role as tapping into their networks so that they can better serve the schools and the community. That's what they want to do. These are people who are very committed and they're very interested in doing, in serving the social community. But one of the issues is they don't really know the social community that well. Now, the Chicago Police Department, the first time I heard about Social Connects was through Larry Sachs, who's in the Chicago Police, and you have a relationship with him. And so you can sort of see how if you establish those relationships, then things start to happen, and people start getting to know. So, if you look at this diagram, I think one thing you'll see is that there is a arrow that goes between the project director and the core management team. But we're not really seeing an arrow with the community. And so this is one question, is how can you create these connections so that South Shore can benefit from what these people might offer? And our role as evaluator is to understand that process. I think your South Shore Connection, you know some of the challenges of what it means to connect people and bring people together. So I'd really just like you to know that there is this committed group of people there. They're interested in doing well by this community. How can those connections be strengthened so that the community can benefit from what they have to offer? Now, the second year evaluation really focused on what was happening in the schools. I did site visits to the schools. And one thing I'd like to focus on there is the role of the resource coordinators in the schools. There are 11 resource coordinators who are hired through this grant. And one of their roles is to help implement the various services and activities that Cynthia talked about. But another important part of their role is actually to connect with community organizations around services that can be a benefit to the students and to the families in those schools. And these services can be anything under the sun. They don't have to actually be mental health or violence, or they don't have to be the primary focus of this grant. These are resource coordinators there to help engage the community. Now, they've experienced some challenges in making those connections. Part of it is knowledge of the community and having those relationships with organizations that really can facilitate getting the services to the people their schools. I think some resource coordinators have, some of them probably have made more progress in getting to know the organizations around their school than others, as you would expect. Some people might be stronger at it than others. And so, this is a question, I think it should be valuable for the South Shore Connects to know that these people are there and to really figure out how to kind of take advantage of them. Because these are actually unusual roles, I think. They're a resource in the school for you to work with. And again, as evaluators, we'll try to understand how that role develops and how these connections get made and who facilitates them and all that kind of stuff, how CPS helps facilitate those connections. So now we're in the third year of the evaluation, and we really are trying to understand the community engagement. And already I think there's been a lot of progress, certainly on the Safe Schools side, in really making the connection to South Shore Connects and really understanding what kinds of services are offered. The Systems of Care Planning Grant was clearly an opportunity for Safe Schools to really understand the lay of the land in terms of mental health services, which I think they sort of had some vague ideas, but I think this really sort of pushed them to understand that better. And one thing that from the school side of things, the Systems of Care grant really represents an important development, because these resource coordinators, when they have students who need long-term mental health services, they need to refer them out. And what they're finding is that the services aren't there, or they're just not close enough. They're referring them outside of the community, and when you refer them outside of the community, the likelihood of follow-up by the parent or caregiver sort of diminishes. So the Systems of Care grant really represents an important development, and if you get that grant, because it will build that infrastructure so that the students in the schools who need more services than the school can provide, that those services will be there. So I think that's what it represents on that side of things. So I don't want to say anything else. I just want to hopefully there will be some questions and some discussion, and I look forward to talking with some of you about some of the obstacles from the community side in terms of connecting with the schools, and hope that information will be available.
Well, I just hope that each of you will allow us to contact you, because we are in the midst of thinking about some summer activities for students. Last year we worked with the elementary schools and did what was called the Second Step Institute, and part of that we had an arts piece to that, and we utilized an art. That's why when you said ETA theater, I know that I reached out to you guys, and but we ended up utilizing an art, but we couldn't get an actor to do something. But we did have that piece as involved in that, and in the summer program, and it was great, and it was here. So whatever you guys have, or whatever services your organization can have, if we can get that information, so that way maybe we can tap into some things, and as we think about summer planning, we can plan with you guys, to move forward for the work we want to do at the high school and the elementary school. I got a flood of kind of success stories from children saying that, I'm able to control my anger now. I realize what triggers me to be angry, and now I have, various ways that I can deal with my anger. So we have, and if we get negative feedback, we try to tweak things to make it conducive, because sometimes with evidence-based practices, they're not cookie cutters, so you try to make it conducive to the environment you work with. But we have gotten great feedback around Second Step, which is one of the evidence-based practices, the mental